Because look, at some point, you just have to separate the absolute catastrophic shambles of a bloke's personal life from what he's actually putting up on the screen. I mean, if you don't do that, you might as well just set fire to the entire history of cinema right now.
Are you joking?
No, I'm completely serious. You cannot judge the architecture of a cathedral by the sins of the stonemason.
You can't separate it. Not when the stonemason in question is literally bleeding his own pathetic, self-obsessed misery onto a 2,000-meter reel of celluloid. And then, demanding that we all stand around and clap for his suffering.
Hold on, hear me out. Right, if you're listening to this, consider this your warning. You are walking into a massive road today. We are tearing apart a piece of history from 1928, a film called The Circus.
A complete shambles of a film.
It is not a shambles. And our battleground, the absolute definitive text we are using to dissect this, is the book.
Cinema, The Magic Vehicle, A Comprehensive Guide. Journey 1, 1913 to 1950.
And my stance, looking at the historical record, is incredibly simple. Charles Chaplin was a pioneer. He built a completely new visual language with this production, and the film itself is absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant. You can't be serious.
It is. It is a masterpiece forged in the fire of his own ruin.
Even your precious source book, the holy text you've been waving around the pub all afternoon, explicitly calls the film lachrymose and unduly sarcastic. Those are the author's words, mate, not mine.
They also praise it.
It sounds less like a pioneering masterpiece and far more like a bloated, self-indulgent ego trip by a madman with a megaphone. It is a sulk. A massive, multi-million-dollar feature-length sulk.
It is not a sulk. It is raw vulnerability. And stick around, because I'm going to prove to you, the listener, how a single sequence in this nearly 100-year-old so-called shambles directly birthed one of the most famous visual tricks in Hollywood history.
Oh, here we go.
I'm talking about Orson Welles. I'm talking about the literal foundation of modern cinematic tension being invented right here.
Orson Welles. Oh, this is going to be mental. You're stretching so far, you're going to pull a hamstring, mate.
I am perfectly serious.
You cannot draw a straight line from a slapstick clown falling over to the architectural genius of Orson Welles.
I will draw that exact line.
Yeah.
But to even grasp what he was trying to achieve, you have to understand the absolute context of chaos this thing was born into.
Yeah.
Because you cannot just look at the circus in a vacuum.
Fair enough. The context was messy.
Messy. You have to understand the sheer, unadulterated hellfire of 1928 for this man. Put yourself in the timeline. This is the period right after the gold rush. Chaplin is, without exaggeration, arguably the most famous human being on the planet.
Right, the most famous man on the planet, and his private life is an absolute spectacular bin fire.
It's way beyond a bin fire. It's front page news for months on end. Every single day, the papers are just obliterating him. Our source, Cinema, The Magic Vehicle, breaks down the sheer scale of the attacks he was facing.
Oh, they went after him for everything.
He was being viciously targeted from all sides. And I mean viciously. They were going after him for ostentatious immorality.
Which, to be fair to the journalists of 1928, he was pretty definitively guilty of. The man was not exactly a saint behind closed doors.
Okay, yes, but also for cowardice, sadism, godlessness, and... Wait, before I list the rest of these allegations, let's just hold on a second and address the reality of the media landscape at the time.
Yeah, let's be careful here.
Exactly. We need to frame this properly for you listening. The book points out that he was also relentlessly attacked by the press for his, quote, leftist views and his supposed Jewish origin.
Right.
Now, as historians examining this text today, we are strictly reporting the historical context of the 1920s media hysteria. We are dissecting the hostility of the environment he worked in. We are taking absolutely zero political sides here today, nor are we validating the bigotries or the political battles of 1928.
Spot on. We're just looking at the anatomy of a scandal. We're strictly neutral.
Exactly. We're just stating the immense crushing pressure the man was facing when he walked onto the set.
Sure, but look at that list of accusations. Sadism, godlessness, ostentatious immorality. The man was entirely besieged by his own making.
He was under unimaginable stress.
And my point is, instead of rising above it, instead of using his art to transcend the gossip, he just wallowed in it. The book says it exactly. It says he passed through an emotional low and did not feel like the optimistic jester anymore.
Because he was evolving.
No. The authors of Cinema, The Magic Vehicle, literally call it the weakest and saddest picture of his mature period. How can you sit there and defend that? He's making a comedy when he's utterly, profoundly miserable, and it leaks into every single frame. The bitterness makes it an absolute drag.
That's rubbish, mate. Complete rubbish. You were looking at it completely backward.
So am I.
Yes. Think about it. Think about the psychology of a modern, massively canceled celebrity trying to make a comeback today. What do they usually do?
They do a podcast apology.
Right. They do some polished, PR-approved apology tour, or they make something completely sterile and safe to win back the advertisers. Chaplin doesn't do that. This crucible of public hatred actually forces him to mature as an artist.
Mature. He was whining.
No, he drops the happy-go-lucky, optimistic jester routine because that guy doesn't exist anymore. The raw vulnerability of taking that very real bitterness and weaponizing it on screen is exactly what makes it a masterpiece.
Vulnerability. Are you having a laugh?
I am dead serious.
He's the producer, the star, the editor, and the co-writer alongside Joseph Plunkett. He's controlling every single microscopic frame of this film.
Which is what auteurs do.
It is literally produced by Charles Chaplin Productions - United Artists. It is a USA film, 2,144 meters long. Do you know what 2,144 meters of film means in practice?
It means it's a feature-length film.
It means roughly 70 minutes of relentless, uninterrupted screen time where he is entirely controlling the narrative. That is not vulnerability. That is him dictating to the audience exactly how sorry they should feel for him.
It's an exploration of his psyche.
It's a calculated projection. He's saying, oh, look at me, the sad, misunderstood clown. Everybody hates me. The press is mean to me, but I'm actually brilliant. It's dodgy, mate. It's properly dodgy.
It is not a PR stunt. That exact desperation you're describing is precisely why the film's structure is so brilliant. You are completely missing the philosophy.
Oh, the philosophy, right.
Yes. Instead of just reading the production credits, let's look at the actual plot. Let's look at what he deliberately injected into those 2,144 meters. Because the philosophy of the unfunny clown is what elevates this from a simple slapstick comedy into a staggering piece of art.
The philosophy of the unfunny clown. Go on then. Explain to us why a comedy about a bloke who literally ceases to be funny is properly genius.
It is genius because it's a terrifying admission for a comedian to make. Listen to the setup. The tramp is unjustly suspected of theft. He's running from the police, he hides in a circus, and he accidentally runs right into the center ring in the middle of a show.
And the crowd loves it.
Right. The public goes wild. They think his frantic, terrified running is a deliberate act. He delights them. So the proprietor of the circus, played brilliantly by Alan Garcia, by the way, hires him as a clown.
Right, and here's where the script gets completely exhausting.
Wait, let me finish the arc, because the mechanism of this is crucial. He gets hired, but the second he puts on the makeup and actually tries to be funny, he is dreadful.
Just completely flat.
He ceases to be funny entirely. So the proprietor demotes him to a prop man, doing awful, menial jobs. And meanwhile, wrapped up in all this, he falls desperately in love with Myrna, the equestrienne, played by Myrna Kennedy.
And obviously she doesn't want him.
Exactly. She doesn't want the lowly prop man. She is infatuated with Rex, the handsome, daring king of the high wire, played by Harry Crocker.
Which is the most painfully cliched romantic triangle in the history of cinema, by the way.
It's classic.
It's a cartoon, the plucky underdog, the beautiful girl, and the handsome, arrogant jock. It's completely uninspired.
But the romance isn't the point of the film. The romance is just the catalyst for his failure. The book points out that this film has the, and I quote, directly best balanced dramatic construction of all Chaplin's feature films.
I read that line and I laughed out loud.
It outlines the 3 philosophical rules that govern the tramp in this specific universe. This is crucial for you to understand, listener. Rule 1, when he has money, he becomes cocky and arrogant.
Sure.
Rule 2, when he knows he is comical, when he is self-aware, he ceases to be funny. And rule 3, he is only really genuinely funny when he is in real, not pretend, trouble.
So he basically has to be suffering to be entertaining.
Yes. That paradox that knowing you're funny destroys the humor and that your audience only laughs when you are in genuine peril is a brilliant, devastating meta-commentary on his own fame.
You're reading way too much into a slapstick routine.
He was the most famous comedian in the world, terrified that the second he started trying to give the audience what they wanted, he would lose his magic. It is properly genius to build a whole narrative around that fear.
Hold on a second. Best balanced dramatic construction. I think the authors of the book had a few pints before they wrote that chapter.
They are renowned historians.
It's not some high-minded meta-commentary, mate. It's just him projecting his massive, suffocating insecurities about losing his audience. He's sitting in his mansion, reading the daily papers, tearing him to shreds, terrified the public doesn't love him anymore.
And he turns it into art.
So what does he do? He makes a film where the audience literally stops laughing at him the second he puts on the clown makeup. It's not a philosophical treatise. It's a very expensive therapy session that we are all forced to watch.
It's a therapy session that revolutionized visual storytelling.
Oh, please. And that romantic subplot you tried to gloss over, the equestrienne and the high wire artist, it's completely hollow.
It serves the narratives perfectly.
If you watch the performance, he doesn't actually care about the girl as a human being. He cares about the fact that he's losing to the handsome bloke. It's entirely about his bruised ego.
That's a very uncharitable reading.
Even Henry Bergman playing the old washed-up clown. It's just a mirror for Chaplin's own neurotic fear of becoming irrelevant. Every single character in this film is just a projection of his own neuroses.
You're so obsessed with playing amateur psychologist that you're entirely ignoring the actual filmmaking.
The filmmaking is secondary to the ego.
The technical wizardry of this production is staggering. Look at the art direction by Charles Danny Hall. Look at the photography by Roland Tutherow.
They did what they were told.
They weren't just moping around on set feeling sorry for themselves. They were actively inventing camera tricks that had never been seen before in the medium.
Right, here we go. The Orson Welles connection. I've been waiting for this. Let's hear this massive historical stretch.
It's not a stretch. It's right here in the text of the source material. The opening chase sequence. Charlie, a policeman, a pickpocket, and his victim, all tearing through a carnival.
Yeah, frantic running, standard stuff.
The book explicitly states it is the richest sequence in gags and improves the whole film's emotional temperature. But there is one specific, incredibly complex visual gag. The Aunt Sally stall.
Right, the Aunt Sally stall.
Yes. Now, for you listening who might not know early 20th century British fairground games, an Aunt Sally stall is an attraction where you throw sticks or balls at a dummy's head.
Basically a coconut shy.
Exactly. So Charlie and the thief are sprinting away from the police, and to hide, they disguise themselves as the moving mechanical figures on this stall. They literally have to freeze and move their bodies like rigid clockwork dummies while the police are standing right there.
That's a good mime trick, I'll give you that.
The physical control required to mimic a primitive animatronic is brilliant, but it's what happens next. The chase breaks down, and it leads them into a hall of mirrors.
A funhouse maze.
A literal maze of reflections. They're trying to hide, they're trying to run from each other, but they cannot tell what is real flesh and blood and what is a reflection in the glass. It is a visual nightmare of geometry.
It's a bunch of mirrors.
And the book explicitly states, this exact fragment may have been the inspiration for the culminating iconic shootout scene of Orson Welles' The Lady from Shanghai. That is foundational cinematic architecture being built right here.
You cannot be serious.
I am absolutely serious.
You are comparing a frantic slapstick funhouse gag where a bloke with a fake mustache is running into glass and falling over to the cinematic masterpiece of Orson Welles.
The visual language is identical.
Welles used the mirrors for a deep psychological fracturing of the film noir anti-hero. He used it to represent the shattered morality of the characters. Chaplin used it so he could bump his head on a mirror and get a cheap laugh.
That is entirely reductive.
It is an absurd stretch to claim he invented the language Welles was speaking. If you look at the circus with the modern eye, it isn't cinematic architecture. It's just frantic, chaotic running around.
You are completely, woefully taking for granted the mechanics of how films were made in 1928. Put yourself in that era for a second. Imagine the sheer technical nightmare of filming that mirror sequence.
You point the camera and shoot.
You have no CGI. You cannot paint out a mistake in post-production. You have Roland Tutherow, the cinematographer, working with massive, heavy, hand-cranked cameras.
Yes, cameras were big.
The film stock back then required immense amounts of light, meaning they had these giant, blinding arc lamps all over the set. So how on earth do you shoot a wide-angle chase sequence inside a room made entirely of mirrors without catching the reflection of the massive camera, the bright lights, or the crew turning the crank?
You angle the glass, mate. It's basic geometry.
It is not basic. The physical choreography, the spatial awareness required by Charles Danny Hall to construct that set, and for Chaplin to map out a chaotic chase scene where the camera remains entirely invisible, you have to respect the physical and technical ingenuity of it.
I respect the set designer, sure.
He built a new visual language out of a funhouse gag. He proves that the camera could navigate a fractured reality without breaking the illusion.
Look, it's a clever parlor trick, I'll give you that. It takes some math. But building a new visual language? Come off it, mate. It's just a well-executed pantomime.
Pantomime.
And that's what this whole film is. It's a pantomime desperately masked as something deep and philosophical.
Well, if you want to dismiss it as a pantomime, let's actually talk about the pantomime then. Let's talk about the physical performance in front of the lens. Because you keep calling this film a bloated pity party. But the source material literally says his acting is the film's greatest asset.
Oh, the monkey scene. I know exactly where you're going with this. You're going to defend the monkey scene.
The monkey business.
Yeah.
It is the defining moment of physical performance in the entire silent era.
It's completely mental.
And it's perfectly proves the philosophical rule we talked about earlier. He is only funny when he is in real trouble. The setup is that he's taking the place of the high-wire artist. He's up on the tightrope, incredibly high up, balancing, terrified, trying not to fall to his death.
Right.
And suddenly these monkeys get loose from their cages and start crawling all over him while he's on the wire.
And biting him. Let's not forget that.
Yes, they are actively biting him. And he has to stay in character, trying to frantically brush them off his face, pulling their tails, balancing on a wire without breaking the illusion of the scene or actually falling.
It's health and safety madness.
He covers a massive emotional range from farcical panic to comical resignation, all while displaying genuine, highly technical acrobatics.
And getting attacked by actual animals.
Exactly. The physical pain of real monkeys biting him on set. Balancing acrobatics, the intricate acting of pretending to be a bloke who is pretending to be a tightrope walker, plus the very real pain of being bitten. It's mental.
It's stupid, is what it is.
It requires an unmatched, insane level of dedication to the shot. The book says this scene provokes laughter, admiration, and pity all at once, and explicitly calls the circus his greatest achievement as an actor.
I am rolling my eyes so hard right now. I'm genuinely worried they might get stuck.
You cannot deny the physical commitment to the bit.
Mate, it is so wildly overhyped, honestly. Are we praising his acting, or are we just feeling sorry for a bloke getting mauled by animals on a tightrope?
It's acting under extreme duress.
Because that's not acting, that's just enduring abuse for the camera. It leans way too heavily on pity. You sit there watching it today, and you're not laughing at the cleverness of the gag. You're just thinking, well, this seems like a massive health and safety violation. It's deeply uncomfortable to watch.
That is exactly the point. Real trouble. Remember rule number 3 of the Tramp's universe. He is only funny when the peril is genuine.
Wait.
The monkeys are real trouble. The audience's laughter is a nervous reaction to his actual visceral danger.
But it's cheap. It's such an easy, manipulative way to get a reaction out of a crowd. Look at me, I'm suffering, I'm being bitten, please love me and feel sorry for me.
He's playing a character.
It all comes right back to his desperate, pathetic need for the audience to validate his suffering. Which brings us perfectly to the ending of the film, the absolute summit of this miserable mountain of self-pity.
The bitter finale. It is a masterpiece of restraint.
Masterpiece of restraint. Let's lay it out clearly for everyone listening so they understand exactly what we're arguing about here. Please do.
Right. The film ends. The circus packs up its tents and moves on to the next town. And they literally leave him behind. Charlie is left completely alone in this empty ring.
Just a barren patch of dirt.
Just dirt where the grand tent used to be. There's litter blowing around in the wind. It's the only souvenir of his thwarted dreams, as the book puts it.
It's visual poetry. Wait, I'm not done setting the scene. He's standing in the dirt. He looks down, and there's a paper star on the floor, a leftover, crumpled prop from the Equestriennes Act.
A beautiful detail.
He looks at it, resignedly kicks it aside with his massive shoe, and just walks away into the distance, completely alone.
It is a monumental, heartbreaking achievement in cinema history. Let me quote the book directly, because the historical research and thematic analysis in cinema, the magic vehicle, is spot on here.
Here we go.
The authors say this ending is an, quote, enchanting moment of philosophical reflection on the price which losers who have lost through their own weakness must pay for preserving their dignity.
It's just words, mate.
That is profound. He had the stones as a mainstream comedic director in 1928 to try something genuinely uncomfortably bleak. There is no happy ending. There is no getting the girl. There is no triumph over the bullies. There is just a man, the reality of his own weakness, and the desperate preservation of his dignity.
I reckon the book is being way, way too kind to him, to be honest.
Are you joking?
No, I'm dead serious. You call it an enchanting moment of philosophical reflection. I call it the climax of a massive ego trip.
How can you look at that beautiful framing and call it an ego trip?
Because it's half brilliant, sure, the cinematography is stark, but it's half nonsense. The ending isn't profound philosophy, it is a bloated pity party from a narcissist with a camera.
A narcissist.
Think about the ego required to frame that shot. He literally clears the entire cast, the entire set away, so he can stand completely alone in a circle of dirt and demand that the entire audience weep for his isolation.
He is isolating the character to make a point.
He's looking at the camera saying, "Look what the cruel world has done to me. Look at my little crumpled star. I am so alone." Just because a director spends a fortune and makes everyone miserable on set doesn't make him a genius. I think the book lets him off the hook because it's supposedly a classic. It's pathetic.
Rubbish. It is not an ego trip. It is an evolution of his entire artistic identity. He's facing the reality of his own fading public persona.
He's just whining.
The book gives you the historical truth of the technical breakthroughs, the emotional depth that fundamentally changed how every comedy with a sad undercurrent is made today. Without that shot, you don't get the modern dramedy.
I'm just saying.
If you find the scale of it a bit of a slog, if you find his vulnerability annoying, that's on you, not the history. You're just looking at it with a cynical bias and refusing to see the art because you hate the artist's personal baggage.
I don't hate the baggage made. I hate that he made the baggage the whole bloody film. I'm looking at it with a modern eye, and I'm sitting here thinking, cut the self-indulgent whining, tighten up the script, lose the tired romantic triangle, and we'd actually have a compelling story. It's bloated.
You cannot cut the melancholy. The melancholy is the engine of the entire picture. The melancholy is why it survives in the cultural memory.
It survives because of momentum, not merit.
We are still fiercely debating it a century later because he didn't just give people a cheap, forgettable laugh. He gave them a mirror to their own failures. He gave them a reflection on what it costs to maintain your dignity when the world strips everything else away. It's magnificent.
It's exhausting.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question. The real provocation here for you, the listener, to mull over long after this argument stops. If an artist's personal life is a complete and utter disaster, does that invalidate the masterpiece they produce?
Oh.
Or is that exact disaster, that agonizing crucible of misery, the exact fuel required to make something that lasts a century?
Look, we've done 40 of these, so you know we're never going to agree on this. He thinks it's a profound masterpiece born of pain, and I think it's just a whiny bloke kicking a piece of paper in the dirt. But here is the challenge for you. If you want to see if I'm just being a cynical bit, or if the book actually has it right, buy the thing. The source is Cinema, The Magic Vehicle, Journey 1, 1913 to 1950. The link is in the description. Do you actually have the spine to read the real history? Or are you staying lazy? Your call.